Chris, how you doing? How you in
Hey,
connect?
Jim. Hey, Lyle.
How you doing, Joe?
Hello?
Hey, Pete.
Can you, okay, hey, yeah.
Pete, you got your own IT person there, I see.
A good thing too. I'm actually in Charleston, South Carolina right now.
Oh, I don't feel sorry for you.
Well, the weather's great.
No places to eat down there.
Yeah, we went to, what was it called? Paws or something like that. Those guy's dog's name that died. Pardon me?
Poogan's porch. Poogan's.
Poogan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
marvelous.
Yeah. That's not too far from a bar that Robert E. Lee had a few drinks at.
I should have known you'd know that.
Yeah, I've been there.
Got a hurricane coming your way?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be south of us and west. But there's about 4 or 5 hurricanes coming, so yes, the next 2 are going to miss us. We're going to Savannah tomorrow.
Are you doing any surfing down there?
Not yet.
Hi, Gloria. How are you?
Hello, Lyle. How are you?
Good.
How's everybody?
Hi, Gloria.
Hello, Pete. Where are you?
Right now in Charleston.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I hope the weather is supposed to be good up there.
It's really nice. Oh, mid-80s today. Sunny.
Nice. Little breeze.
Little breeze. Yeah. We got a 16,000 step walk-in today.
Oh, fabulous. Are you on the beach?
No, we're staying just in the old town, we call it.
Oh, Mount
Historic
Pleasant.
district,
Oh, the historic district. Okay.
Yeah,
I've got a sister up there on Mount
Yeah.
Pleasant.
Hi, Gloria.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. Jim?
Hi, Gloria.
Hello,
Welcome.
how are you?
Good.
Hey, Doug Berry.
Hey, Doug. Oh, you look nice. Look at you.
you're muted, Doug.
I know. This is my second meeting of the day. Yeah, thank you very much. Occasionally I need to look like the city attorney.
Yeah, you look good. I did put makeup on.
Aren't you nice? Well, you
I
look,
know. Once a month.
everyone looks, we're all looking good. It's
So
Yeah.
did I, Gloria.
Huh?
So did I.
What? What'd you say?
I put makeup on too.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, Joe, I told you about that, man.
Joe, I thought I
I tell ya.
noticed something different about you today.
It's a match address.
I shouldn't have revealed my secret, huh?
There's a really cute video on the administrative office of the court's web. Taking argument. I had my first appellate argument on Zoom last week, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
talks about not standing up if you're in pajama pants. It's really funny. It's
Yeah.
I recommend it to you, whether you're a lawyer or not. Just go on their website.
That's funny.
I did this.
I need to close my email.
How do you do that? Oh. Close mine too, I guess.
You'll be happy to know, Judge, that Joe, that Frank Clement is as big a guy on Zoom as he is in person. He can't help him. He can't help himself. That guy's so funny.
I saw him in Kroger about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. And it's like, oh, okay. Oh, boy.
He's a trip, man.
He is a trip.
He does a great job.
He,
It's a good
you
job.
know, he's so pleasant. He makes things like you really want to do it, you know?
Got that
I agree.
We're getting close. Is everybody here? Let's see. Chris Tardio's not. There's Chris. Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah. And we,
Oh, what
somebody
about, oh, yeah, okay.
got a pretty baby there.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug. Chris, how y'all doing?
Chris, Haley, Pete, Gloria, and me are all here. Okay. I don't know who that is, but sure is a nice looking family.
Oh, hey, Doug, this is Kevin Sharp.
Oh, hi.
Hey,
Oh, hey, Kev.
yeah, how are you doing? I'm simultaneously in a mediation and making this, so I'm jumping back and forth, and we've got the babies in here with us, so
You got a nice support group there.
we will
I think
mute as quickly as we can.
I think in terms of winning your case, Judge,
Is
maybe stay up front. You need to go into the background. Just giving you a tip. Just giving you
Do
a
it
tip.
this way.
just need this part right here. Is there you go.
I think everybody's here.
That's
Yeah, let's get started.
open that up.
So I'm gonna ask if you would, if you're not a board member, to mute yourself until the appropriate time, please.
Do that.
Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 15th, 2020 meeting, Zoom meeting of the Belle Meade Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm Joe Duggan. I'm joined by following board members: Gloria Sternberg, Haley Dale, Pete Zabaski, and Chris Tario. You're also being served by Edie here she's with us today.
Yes.
And Lyle Patterson, our city building inspector, and Doug Berry, our chief legal counsel. There are, let's see, 3 new applications and 1 matter of old business on the agenda today. Each applicant is here because their request for building permit has been denied and they are here to appeal. It's the responsibility of this board to hear your appeal and determine if there's a compelling reason that would allow the board to grant your request, while at the same time protecting the intent and integrity of the city ordinances. The board can only hear what's been published in the appeal. If the board grants your approval, it will be specific to your request. Our procedures for the evening are as follows. City Inspector Bill Lyle Patterson will introduce each item. Their applicant or the representative will make a presentation, and when doing so, especially now with Zoom meetings, please introduce yourself to the record. There'll be time for the board to ask questions, and then we'll solicit any comments from anyone in attendance. Please introduce yourself if you're speaking as a member of the public. Then I'll close off the discussion from the public, and the board members will deliberate in open forum. We may ask you questions during that deliberation. A board member then will file a motion, and then a second will be required, and then the entire board will vote. The decisions of the board are as follows. If your appeal is granted, we'll ask you to remove the yard sign and obtain a permit within a year. If your appeal is denied, we ask you to remove your yard sign. If it's deferred, leave the yard sign up, please. Each of the board members have familiarized ourselves with the application. We've reviewed your submitted materials, and if necessary, made a site visit. I'll now ask the board, are there any conflicts of interest? Well, good. If not, now we have a quorum. So, Mr. Patterson, we're ready to proceed.
First item under old business, the application of Buddy Ortel, 424 Sunnyside Drive for a conditional use, special exception permitting construction of a swimming pool. The building permit has been denied for the following reason. Swimming pools require BZA approval. Swimming pool is outside rear building setback, but within existing footprint of the house. Staff recommends approval. I'm going to share my screen, and whoever is representing Mr. Ortel, you are up. If you would call out the thumbnail, I'll get to it as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And Gabe and Duke, I'm here for Buddy as well.
Gavin, what would you like for me to start with?
Just probably the sheet. Where's the sheet that shows the probably BZA 4? I'm not seeing the screen. I'm not sure where it is.
Okay. All right, hold on just a second.
Sorry.
Right now we're in Colorado.
Are you not seeing, is no one seeing the screen?
I
No,
see
No, it's
Colorado.
the mountains.
Colorado there.
I was just there.
See Aspen.
Hold on. Let's try this one more time. How about now?
There we go. BZA 5, I guess, would probably do better.
All right.
I guess through the discussion, last month we did a little research and we talked to Lyle and we pulled up the old records from that. I think it was, Lyle, was it 2008, I believe?
Yes.
And the board had approved the pool at that point, which surprised me a little bit. And I think that what we were trying to do this time is maybe look at it as part of the architecture, because no one will really ever see it from the ground plane. It has a gate at the lower end of the steps at the lower level, but when you look at it from below, the elevation is such that you never see the body of water, and it is sort of a piece of the architecture. And then I didn't know if is Pete Zabaski here today or no?
Yes, I am.
I couldn't remember. I know you mentioned last time that that you remember it coming before the board, but I guess we went back and looked, and for some reason it did pass at that point. And I didn't know if you had any recollection of what that might have been.
Well, let's save that for.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
But our case is that we're not going any further than the most, I guess, the part of the architecture that it extends at this point, if you drew a line from there. But we are outside of the 60-foot. And if you had an addition to the house, say a bay window or some type of part of the architecture that stuck out, that could be approved. But this being a pool, I think last month we said that it could not. But we were hoping that since it is at a higher elevation, it's on the elevation of the main floor, that maybe the board could relook at this as far as part of the architecture, and maybe see that as being part of this case, and the fact that it passed back in 2008.
Let me interrupt. This is totally unrelated. I meant to recognize Jim Hunt. Jim, you still with us? Well, he was there. Okay, sorry. Go right ahead.
And as you can see, we're fully landscaped on that lower side as well. I don't know, Lyle, if you can go to BZA 6, which is the next sheet. So as you can tell, that still we have the guy in the lounge chair, but up at that upper level is where the pool is, and we have 2 series of planting, and then we meet the 6-foot pool enclosure rule, and we have the gate down below that meets that as well. Trying to think if there's anything else. We would definitely have the stormwater taken care of, and I guess another factor is the distance to the other neighbors. I think that's on sheet maybe BZA 2. You can definitely see that we are, well over 200 feet from any of the other neighbors. So we're pretty far from those neighbors. So that's sort of, and I don't know if Buddy is on here, if you had anything to say, Buddy, or.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Well, this sort of solved the mystery of why I said I didn't want to come back before Belle Meade, I guess, because we went ahead and got that pool approved 12 years ago. I realize that doesn't mean that it's going to get approved now, but that was sort of the point back in those times. But this pool, I think, as he pointed out, is part of the architecture. The other pool was actually down on the ground, and it was actually further out even than what is being proposed here. So, hope that Lyle's recommendation here is.
Yeah, Lyle, is that the old pool that had been approved in 2008?
There's actually two pools here. If you'll notice, it's labeled upper pool. I'm gonna annotate here just for a second. This location here is where the current permission is being requested. That's one pool. The other pool is a lower pool, and Buddy was actually granted permission for both of these.
And I think the one that we're requesting now is less invasive because in that case, we had to have a fence that went around the property. And there's sort of a stone wall at the back of the property that we'd rather not sort of, it's a scenic sort of stone wall. We don't want to interrupt that and have any type of fencing make it feel enclosed.
So Gavin,
We are.
Yes.
Joe Duggan here. Nothing has changed then since the last presentation, except we now know what the minutes in 2008 say. Is that correct?
Correct. We kept it pretty much the same and wanted to reemphasize the fact that, we felt that it was a little bit more of the architecture than just a typical standalone pool.
Thank you.
And, yep.
Anybody else on your behalf want to say anything? Mr. Ortel, you said you understand what your position. Anybody else there on behalf of the applicant? Okay, if not, I'm going to close off the public portion and board members.
We probably need to ask questions.
Yeah. Go right ahead, Pete.
Okay. The pool was approved back in 2008 as a variance. I'm reading the minutes. It says Mr. Gallagher moved approval of a variance for the construction of the house and for the approval of a conditional use permit allowing construction of a pool. I just want to make sure from Doug Berry that we have authority to approve a pool outside the building envelope without a variance being requested.
I hope I'm unmuted. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Muted right now. This is an unusual case, an unusual set of facts. It looks like to me that in 2008, the case was presented really both as a variance and a special exception under that section for special exceptions where you can with a non-conforming structure, you can continue to build on the same footprint so long as it doesn't further aggravate the encroachment of the setback. It was approved, as you say, Pete, Mr. Sabaski, as a variance, and then that included the structure, as I understand it, and they constructed. While, as I understand from history, they have now acted on that building permit and constructed the structure per that approval in 2008, and just haven't ever constructed the pool. Now the approvals of the Board of Zoning Appeals will only last a year, but it seems to me that they're having constructed the residence, and this pool, as Mr. Duke says, or sort of like it's architectural. It is a pool, but to the extent it's outside the building envelope, it's within the building envelope as established by the board's action in 2008. So it's a funny kind of case, but I don't see any harm, harm or bad precedent in allowing it under the circumstances. It just doesn't seem like it's a problem to me. So I can live with, if that's Mr. Patterson's, if that's Lyle's recommendation, I can live with that.
Well, in the minutes, I'm going to disagree.
I'm
It
sorry.
says special exception variance permitting the construction of a house and grade change.
Right.
And if I read the minutes correctly, the variance was because they were over on volume due to the topography. And then it's conditional use permitting the construction of walls, fence, and pool. It was not
Yeah.
a variance conditional use.
It was not a variance for the pool. I agree.
No.
But where the pool is now is within the sort of the grandfathered building envelope as approved by this board in 2008, in which I think they've already built a portion of the structure, maybe all their structure, in reliance on that decision. Is that right? Well, I mean,
Honestly, I didn't hear everything you said, Doug.
I'm sorry. So I'm assuming in reliance on that 2008 decision of the board, the owners built the structure, the rest of the structure that they were seeking to have approval for that night, and just didn't build the pool. And as you said earlier, one of the pools was actually down the slope,
Yes.
way outside the building setbacks, and now it's completely within the footprint of the house as it was allowed to be, I would say, grandfathered in, or however you want to look at it, in 2008. So
That's correct.
unusual set of circumstances, but I don't see that it does any harm to our interpretation of our zoning ordinance to allow it.
I will say the reason why I changed my recommendation to approval because of the minutes of '08, and personally, I didn't feel like it would be setting precedent going forward. I mean, this is just for this one lot because of the approval of 12 years ago.
And
Board members, you got any questions? Well, no questions. Anybody have a motion?
Well, what about discussion?
Well, let's discuss.
Well, Lau, in the screen, can you put up everybody? I forgot it was even here.
Sure.
Just looking at Joe. All right, I read the October 21st, 2008 minutes a little different. I think it was approved under a variance. I was there, but I don't remember. I don't actually remember that detail, but I read where he approved of a variance for the construction of the house and for the approval of a conditional use. So I can see where it can be read differently. I think approving this means that the board will approve a pool outside of the building envelope without a variance being requested, which sets a precedent. I heard what Doug said, and it is an unusual application, but is still approving a pool under a conditional use without a variance, outside the building envelope without a variance.
I have a question for Gavin. Gavin, when we met last time, we had a discussion among the board about coming back, and there was a discussion about possibly asking for a variance, but you did not this time. Is that correct?
No, I think Lyle and Mr. Hotel and myself had a discussion, and we felt like from reading the past news or the minutes, we felt it was a conditional use, and that was why we kept it there as opposed to going for variance.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members have any thoughts they'd like to share?
Can you explain that one more time about how you got to a conditional use? Why was the
Yes.
decision made to go that direction?
Yes, Mr. Hotel and Lyle and myself had a phone conversation, and we looked at the minutes and sort of reviewed the minutes and tried to, sort of decipher what they were talking about at that point. And we thought and leaned to Lyle a little bit to talk about that, but we felt it was still in the conditional use. If we'd have known it needed to be a variance, we would have definitely posted that for sure.
That's based on the minutes. I mean, they were not asking for a variance in '08. They were given permission to build 2 pools. And we talked about this. It is a conditional use because it is a pool. It was a conditional use in '08. So based on the minutes and the approval given in '08, we wrote it as a conditional use because it is a pool.
This is Gloria again. Could I ask a question of Doug?
Your
Please.
service, man.
So if the ownership had changed between now and then, which it hasn't, would this be a new discussion or an old discussion?
The ownership, in my opinion, would not make a difference. First of all, remember, a conditional use and a variance are not mutually exclusive categories. We've made a swimming pool a conditional use under our ordinances to take care of certain issues like screening, landscaping, height of fence. So you can have a request for conditional use and a request for variance in the same case, which we've seen a good bit lately, the last 6 to 10 months. Ownership would not make a difference in answer to your question, Mr. Sternberg. So my response to this or take on this is what the board did in 2008 is whether under the rubric of a special exception or a variance allowed the house to be constructed under an old building envelope that new zoning had made non-conforming.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time approved 1 swimming pool within that envelope, if you will, part of that action, and then 1 way outside of it. That the latter is no longer part of their application, and so the one that was within that, I'll just call it the grandfathered building envelope, is now being presented as a conditional use. It's kind of a ragged set of facts, but like I said, I can defend this if somebody were to say that the city acted unreasonably or arbitrarily here. And I don't think it's the sort of thing. I'm not a big worrier about precedents for BCA decisions because every piece of property is different. And every set of facts it tends to be are different. I appreciate Pete's scrupulosity, if you will, his scrupulousness about that sort of thing. I get that, but I'm just not worried about this one. So if that's the new standard, maybe that helps you. It's Doug.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go right ahead, Amy.
Thank you. I'm not trying to oversimplify things, but in my mind, what this seems like to me is that a property owner was approved to build a swimming pool that they didn't build 12 years ago. And I'm just putting myself in that position. I'm thinking if it were me and let's say I was selling my property, I would be inclined to tell someone, we were approved for a pool by the BZA. However, we didn't build the pool, but that would be a true statement that would be very misleading to a new homeowner, based on the actions of this board. So, without being, and Pete's in a different situation having been there, but for me, not having been there, I have to think that the board gave it as, much consideration as we do everything on our agenda. And to me, it just sounds like the time on the permit ran out. What is it, a year that, But they did ask for two. They're only wanting to put one back. And oddly for me, though, this makes zero sense. But in my mind, this feels a lot more like it's because it's not on the ground for some reason, it feels different to me. Maybe that's irrelevant, but I just wanted to state that really. I didn't really have a question.
Well, Chris, Tardio, or anybody else want to make any comments? If not, Chris, any thoughts?
Yeah, as I'm looking at this, thinking of it, I suppose, as a lawyer a little bit, I don't know that what I'm hearing, I suppose, is that the 2008 decision of the board has no real binding, it's not binding authority, but it may have, if we want to stay consistent with it, I think we stick with what we did and the board did in 2008 under, like Haley said, under whatever we need to travel under to make it consistent with Doug's statements. But I agree with Haley that the consistency from 2008 probably, especially in this particular situation, which is fairly peculiar. So I'm okay with doing it. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Chris. I want to make this statement for the record, and it somewhat amplifies what Doug said. We are presented with a very unusual situation, and I don't want this to be, and I want to state for the record, I do not consider this a precedent because I mean, we have to stand by our law or regulation as it says that if it's outside the building envelope, it's not permissible, but this is very unusual. So I just want the record to reflect that because of the unusual set of circumstances, this is approved. It's because of what happened back in 2008 and what we think about currently. Of course, that matters too. So having said that, does anybody else want to say anything? And if not, if there's a motion, I'll be glad to hear it.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second. It's Chris.
Chris Tardio seconds. Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, let's have a roll call vote. Haley?
Aye.
Chris?
Yes.
Pete?
No.
And
Gloria.
Gloria, excuse me.
Gloria, yes.
And I vote aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
I assume that passes.
Yeah, buddy, it passes. First item under new business, the application of Michael Code 4314 Sunnybrook Drive for a variance permitting the construction of additions. The building permit has been denied for the following reasons. Addition is outside the building setback, but within existing footprint. Addition in rear is over on allowed height. Staff recommends approval. I'm going to share my screen, and whoever is representing, you're up.
Hello, I'm Andrew King. Can everybody hear me? I'm muted.
You're good.
Yes.
All right, thank you. One day I'll figure out how to work this thing. Yes, I'm representing the Cope family. And so the situation, as Lyle was saying, if you go to the sheet down from there. Oh, sorry. One more down. There you go. Zoom in on there. As you can see, there's the existing house, which is, dashed in there. And to the left of that existing house, facing the front, there is a deck that has on the front side a masonry foundation that wraps a little bit on the left side. And the slope of that lot is pretty dramatic. So it slopes down to about an 8.5 foot height on the rear end. So it's a raised deck about, a little off the finished floor of the existing house. But when you're in the back of the house, it's up about 8 feet. So, but when it turns back on the masonry on the left side, there is a wood vertical siding or decking that just wraps, and it's no longer the masonry. The masonry stops. So what we're proposing is my client wants to do an addition and go into that space that's already past the existing setback there. Where the space is existing and it's going past the setback. And we want to keep that same footprint, but the difference is we want to cover that part. So if you go down to the elevations so there's the existing house. So if you go up a little bit, you can see on the left side, there's that deck from the front elevation. And then on that existing left elevation, you can see how it continues back. And it's raised up there and with some stairs that go up there from the top. And then what we're proposing is not only a whole remodel and addition of the house, keeping the same footprint, but also going out the back, but capturing that deck space and putting a front porch on the front to kind of keep that same character of the house, but also make it a great room in the back. So there's the elevation change. So we're seeking I guess a variance on getting approval to keep that same footprint, but build on top of it. So there it is from the left side. So where you see that little gable and then the porch out the front, that's within the same footprint of the existing deck. Except for we will be adding that masonry on that same plane, or some brick on that same plane as the existing, instead of keeping it that decking material.
Sorry, can I just clarify one thing? Lau, will
Yeah.
you go back to that? Okay, right there, sorry. So you're saying the brick veneer in this picture,
Yep.
when we looked at the other picture that had like a door to a workshop or something, that's an existing deck, and you're saying that becomes brick veneer, and then this new part on top is what they're wanting to add above the deck.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
So that's the existing space that they use for a workshop and kind of a storage area. It's not heated or, it's just underneath that existing deck, but he uses it for a workshop and kind of storage. So that we're just trying to capture that space above it, I guess, is what we're wanting to do.
I have a question, Joe. It's Gloria.
Yeah, go right ahead.
It said the addition in the rear is over the allowed height, and I couldn't find the highest point I could find was 45 feet.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's below.
The code says 50 feet from the finished grade on the side and back. So
yeah, I think we're good on height.
I didn't understand that part of the.
That might have been a typo on my part, but I think we're within that height restriction there.
Okay, so
I've got a question. Lau, can you confirm that?
Well, I'm looking at the site plan here. I'm going to annotate on here. So from the 60 foot to the 85, you're allowed to go 25 feet. From this dash line forward, you're allowed to go to 45. So let me go to a elevation. Let me zoom out here and go to an elevation. Let's just see where that is.
Yeah.
Right here, I'm gonna zoom in. This is the addition, and you'll
Yes, sir.
32 feet, I believe. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. It's 20. Let's say 29.
Yep.
I believe that says 29. If I can get this thing to draw, 9 right here is what it says.
Oh, okay.
That's to this point. So I'm guessing
That's right, yeah.
Foot line falls somewhere in here. This is the section that is over on height and
Okay.
to the sheer topography. As you'll notice, the lot slopes heavy from front to rear.
Mhm.
Matt, you can see that. That's the reason I wrote that as over on allowed height in the rear.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I
It's a small
misinterpreted that.
section.
Mhm.
So I just need to understand what we're talking about. If you'll go back to I think it was like an aerial view of the proposed addition. The one in the rear.
Yeah.
Well, it has both on there, but, okay, right. So outside, so you're saying, right, well, I'm pointing, you can't see what I'm pointing at. I'm sorry.
This-
Okay.
this
Just the
box-
small part
This
of the,
box,
supposed to be 25.
25.
Okay. So it's 4 feet over just for that tiny little square
Correct.
rectangle.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
is 4 foot 10 inches over.
What is the ceiling height inside of the addition?
The existing house is 8 feet, and we're keeping it all the same. We're not adding any height to it. We will vault the addition where that new great room is.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the first floor plan, Lyle, we're vaulting that space. The existing ceiling height in the first floor stays the same. Yeah. So that front, down on the left side, that front covered porch is those little pilasters are the existing brick pilasters, and we're kind of piggybacking off of those with the covered porch, and then the great room behind it. But that great room will be vaulted.
But am I unmuted? Yes. In the part that is out of compliance, is that the master?
Yes, ma'am. That's
Okay.
the master bathroom and
Master bathroom.
yeah.
And Lyle, is it clear on that drawing where within that bathroom that violation is happening? I'm assuming it's like half of the master bath.
Yep. Actually, Lyle, if you take that little drain on the shower, the little circle drain, it's the center point of that is where we're at.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, so this is Gloria, and I don't know whether this is an appropriate question or not, but is that part of the roof lower? Because that's not the high point.
Yeah, there's a room above it on the second floor. So that's a closet.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
But
the issue is that from the street level, we're well below that required 25 feet. Or not well below. We are 24 feet 6 inches from the street level, but there's such a dramatic change in topo that is what's causing. We're still below all that height in the front.
Andrew, can you speak to the change in topography from the street to the back property line?
You sure can. 1 second. It is. Sorry, 1 second here. I mean, we are looking at roughly quite a bit from the back of the house to roughly the curb of the street is about a 12-foot change. More like 11 feet, 11 and a half feet. So, but from the front of the house to the back of the house, we are at, so if you take that front porch column to the back of that garage area, you are at 8 feet or 8.5 feet roughly.
And you have dropped the ridge of that addition in the rear about 4 feet, 3.5 feet. The ridge.
That's the difference between those two ridge heights are 2 feet 3 inches.
Okay.
This is Gloria. I'm sorry, I must have missed. Lyle, did you have a recommendation on this?
I recommend approval. It's written as a variance due to the topography change.
Andrew, does anybody else want to speak on the applicant's behalf besides yourself?
Yes, I believe Michael is on here, and I think he has some neighbors also. Are you here, Michael?
Yes, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name's Michael Cope. I'm the owner of this property. We've recently moved in, as you can hear, from out of town with my accent. It's our intention to grow our family here and keep the house in its original format, but make it livable enough and big enough for our family. It's not our intention to purchase the property and bowl the house and start again. So I appreciate, firstly, Lyle, Andrew, and also the neighbours that we've spoken to have been all very supportive of this. So I appreciate your time today. In reference to the first point, that is replacing the deck, or the porch, as you call it here, sorry, the porch on the western side of the house. We've spoken to the neighbours on the western side of the house. They support. We've spoken to the neighbours all around the property. All of them support. So, yeah, anything that we can do to help, just let us know. But I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Are there any neighbors here to speak, or have you mentioned what they had to say?
Mr.
You mentioned
Chairman,
it.
this is
Anybody
Clay
else?
Phillips. I don't know if y'all can see me or not with my
I'm
wife,
sorry.
Elizabeth.
Could you say your name again, please?
Clay Phillips and Elizabeth Phillips.
Okay.
And we live directly across the street from Mike, and we've lived on Sunnybrook since 2000. So we've been here for a while. We've renovated our home. We've renovated the home next to us, and so we've had a strong interest in the street. We love Mike and his family. We love the fact we've got new families coming, and we love the design. So we really respect the staff's recommendation on this, and think it's just a worthwhile project, and we would love to see it go forward. We'd love to be neighbors with the Copes for a long time to come.
Clay, could you state your address just for the record, please?
Yeah, 4315 Sunnybrook Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Anybody else on behalf of the applicant? Well, if not, I'm going to close off that public portion and have the board members discuss.
Joe, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You said on behalf of the applicant, and I was thinking that I may not be speaking on behalf of the applicant. So I'm part of the public. Can I go ahead and speak?
Yeah. What is your name, please?
It's Robert McDougald.
Okay, go right ahead.
Address is 4317 Signal Hill Drive, which is behind the home. And we are diagonal to this lot to the northwest. You can picture that. And the concern we had when we received the letter, and I read the neighbor's letters, I totally appreciate, and we're totally on board with improving the neighborhood and everything else. But I think the contractor or the architect spoke at length about the severe drop off or the elevation change from the front to the back. Well, we are on the back side of that. And our concern is exceeding both the rear envelope that they're proposing. That would be coming closer into our backyard as well. Our backyard's back to each other, as well as the height. And I do realize now, having heard the discussion, and I appreciate that, Andrew, about how it's just a small portion of that home, and Lyle as well, that is actually seeping in. But my concern would be is if we might begin to feel And again, we're not directly behind the home. We are northwest on a diagonal, but we definitely can see the home from there. And we're picturing what increased height in the back, looking down onto our backyard with the severe slope that we have, would be of a potential concern for us, as well as want to make sure, being on the downside slope, that water movement has been addressed, and any type of new water flow that may occur with additions. Being on the downside of that is much more concerning than being on next door neighbor or across the street on the high side, of course. So just wanted to make sure we took those into consideration, and we're thinking about the neighbors on the backside who will be having to be looked down upon from a variance that would increase the height.
Well, Mr. McDougal, I'm going to have Lyle Patterson speak of the potential water issues.
Yeah, two things. They're not over their setback. They're clearly several feet away. The 60-foot line you're seeing on the screen I'm showing now is how far they can come back.
Okay, so the variance for the depth is not, I mean,
No.
Okay.
No, if you look at the screen, I'll zoom in on it here. That 60-foot setback line, they can build all the way back to that. They're nowhere near that.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Andrew, you could speak to the actual how many feet that is. The other concern, which I greatly appreciate, is the water. In this instance, a full stormwater plan would be required for the conditions, which would capture the first 1 inch of rainfall and have a controlled trickle flow. So anybody downhill from this would be of the utmost importance in that evaluation from an engineer that Mr. Cope would hire. And that is approved by our city engineer.
Okay. Thank you for that, Lyle.
Sure.
Mr. McDougal, thank you. Anybody else care to speak on behalf in regard to this application? Okay.
Joe, Pete Sabaski, may I ask at this point, since he brought up the height being a question of overlooking his property, can we look at that rear elevation again?
Apologize. Hold on, let's see.
Good.
There's the rear. Do you want to see a side for dimensional?
No, I was looking at the rear just for the windows.
Okay.
Just his concern is that top window is for what? I'm asking the.
Yeah, there's so up above that room in Lyle, it is on sheet 1 or A103. So above that master suite, that top floor is a bedroom with a closet, and that's the window in the closet.
Okay.
Pete, it helped me to look at the maps, if that is relevant at all. Lyle, do you want to show the maps of where the McDougald's property is in relation to this? Because for me, that helped.
Is that on this sheet, Andrew?
I think it's on the front page. It was on the front. All of them were on the front agenda thing.
Yeah, so that's the survey. Yeah, I don't have the McDougall's house or and just so y'all have on your record, the back of that house is 80 feet 4 inches from that property line. So where our proposed addition is 80 feet 4 inches from the property line. So
yeah,
the rear property line. And that's one thing I've appreciated about the Copes is they want to stay in character, and instead of making it so massive and trying to fill up as much footprint as they can, they were very respectful of that. So
Does that
So
help?
the subject property there obviously is in color, and the McDougals live catty corner behind there, as you can see.
I've got another question about that window. Is that window necessary, Andrew?
It's not. It's more for a decorative piece on that, for that gable end on the rear, but it's not for egress or anything like that. We can get rid of that, and I can put a different feature up there. Or,
even a translucent window or something that would alleviate the concern of Mr. McDougall in someone overlooking his property. I know it's only 4 feet different from what you're allowed to do by code and what you're not allowed to do, so it's not that close to his property, but nevertheless, he expressed a concern, and if that's an easy way to alleviate it, then
For sure.
maybe you should consider that.
yeah, and I don't think the Copes will have any issues with losing a window in that closet, so not a big deal.
That makes perfect sense to us. I appreciate the pragmatism. I think we would make that move if it was to appease any issues you had, Robert.
Okay, I had to unmute myself. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. And I look forward to meeting you someday. I walk the dog around there, so I'll keep an eye out.
Any other board members have any questions of the applicant or their representative? If not, I'll close off the public portion and have the board members discuss.
This is Pete. I think it's pretty straightforward at this point. I would think any motion would include either eliminating that window on the upper story or making it translucent or opaque to where you can't see out of it.
Well, you want to make a motion?
Well, could I,
Go right ahead.
I mean, I don't really, I can support whatever the board wants to do. I just don't really see a reason to eliminate that particular window for a catty corner property. I mean, if you look back at the map, the property directly next to them is got to be way more invasive than this would be. You know, it's just so far away. I mean, it's fine. I just feel like from a design standpoint, I mean, they've got this sort of symmetry going up the back addition. I mean, I get it. But I mean, you would probably have to stand in a very weird angle in that window to look over at the McDougald's property. I mean, it's a very small window. You know what I mean? I mean, it's difficult to see. I don't know.
Lyle, will you put a pointer on the window we're talking about?
Sure. This is the window in the closet here.
All right. It would look odd without that window, I think. From design, we're not here for design reasons, but I have to agree with Haley. I have to agree. But again, it all depends on what the motion says.
But let me just throw this in. Again, I didn't say eliminate the window. You can make it opaque or translucent, but the purpose of the code and to keep the height back 60 feet or more is so that you can't overlook the neighbor's property. That's the whole purpose for the code.
Could we go back to the maps again? Sorry. What I was trying to say is if you look directly to next door to the McDougald's property, the Clayton home is literally on the property line. So I would think that would be far more invasive and it's already there. I mean, if it's a privacy issue, I understand the height thing and not wanting to get, you know, too far out on the limb. It's just so far off the rear of the property line. I mean, for me, it does not represent a privacy issue. I mean, I don't live there, so in fairness, I get it. But I mean, the house next door, the Haynes house, is farther back to the rear than this home would be. I get that the height isn't I mean, you know, it's not 4 feet more right there, but it just seems like there are a lot more violations happening in the immediate vicinity than this would be. But
Well, go right ahead.
This is Gloria. Yeah, I'm not comfortable adding a design recommendation into the at all. I don't think that's our job. I don't know if Doug wants to weigh in on that, but yeah, I mean, they're way off the back property line. And, you know, people have windows.
Lyle, could you measure the distance from the back, or what will be the new back of the Copes home to the McDougal's?
I think.
Sure.
See, I can see if I
Would
can
you
do
like
that.
me to ask you to do any more random tasks during this meeting? I'm so sorry. Oh, look at him go. Look at him go.
Man, he's
He's
you're
on
faster
it.
than me, Lyle.
It's really good.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it is.
225 feet.
Hey, Lyle, real quick, I think you measured to 4317
Yeah.
Sunnybrook instead of Signal Hill.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Yeah,
There
and
are
that's
many harmers in the neighborhood.
Is this the house here? Hold on. I apologize. There we go. That's the subject property.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, let's measure that one more time. 180 feet.
Okay.
Well, I think we understand the situation, everybody. Does somebody want to make a motion one way or another?
I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Gloria seconds.
Gloria, as submitted. Yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, let's have a roll call vote. Haley,
Aye.
Gloria,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
I need to leave early, and I've asked Pete Zabaski to take over for me. Thanks, everybody, and thanks to the public that's here, and appreciate all your input, everybody, and see you soon.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe.
Second item under new business is the application of Matt Cowan, 4417 Harding Place, for a variance permitting the construction of an addition and driveway. The building permit has been denied for the following reason. Addition is outside the building setback, but within the existing footprint. Driveway is closer than the required 5 feet of green space. Driveway is over on allowed footprint. Staff recommends approval. I will mention that this came to the Historic Zoning Commission last Tuesday, and it was approved. So I will now share my screen. And Wade, Rick, if you would call out what thumbnails you would like, and I'll pull them up.
Lyle, this is Justin Lowe. I may
Oh.
start, so and then
Sure.
Wade and Tipton will probably join in. So Justin Lowe with Centric Architecture, representing the Cowans, as Lyle mentioned. Wade Rick with Dave Rick, Landscape Architect, and Tipton folks are both on here, as well as Matt Cowan and likely his wife Seal Cowan. So the property is at 4417 Harding Place. A lot of people know of this or recognize this house because of the screen porch on the front. So that's a very unique feature of the house. So Matt and Seal Cowan has long loved this house, and they happened to drive by and it was for sale. And so here we are. They've purchased the house, want to save the house. And the issues that come with that are we have a really narrow lot. So particularly along this block of Harding Place is certainly the only one within the block that's only 60 feet wide, 61 feet wide, compounded by a little bit of a trapezoid shape. I'm going to speak a little bit to just the architecture and what we're doing, and then let Wade sort of talk about some of the site issues. But Lyle, if you'll scroll down maybe to the this slide right here, L 1.0 is a good one to start with. So the areas in blue are areas that exist currently with the house that are over the setback, the side setbacks. And then you can kind of see the areas in this sort of brown color are the areas that we would be requesting a variance for. We've kept within the existing width of the house proper. To the bottom of the page, you can see there's an existing porte-cochere that hangs out in blue, even closer to the property line. But we've sort of kept our addition just within the width of the existing house. What we were trying to accomplish with this house, it's a very small, it's a 1,200 square foot footprint house. So roughly, the existing portion of the house, roughly 2,100 square feet total. To make there's no garage, there was no the only parking really occurred either under the porte-cochere or in the front yard. And so the Cowans were looking to, add some living space to make the downstairs more functional, but also add a garage for parking cars and getting those out of the front yard. And what we've been able to accomplish, it's very tight, but Lyle, if you'll scroll down maybe to the floor plan sheet. I think it's probably 2 or 3 down from here. Yeah, that's good there. So the center is the main floor plan. So rotated, so the Harding Place is at the top of the page. But the trying to get a family room with some connection to the backyard, that was very important. It's got a beautiful long backyard, a narrow lot, but deep lot. So that connection to outdoor space, but also getting a garage so we could park cars back here. And so we're kind of shoehorning those two functions sort of side by side within the width of that existing footprint, the width of the existing house. And I think, the big things to note, we're really keeping the front of the house very much intact. Will look very much like it does now. Even the screen porch will stay. We are looking at adjusting some of the columns that have been redone over time, and some little minor modifications like that. But in general, the existing house footprint will stay. There was a later addition done in maybe the 80s or 90s on the back that basically gets taken off and replaced with this addition. And I'll stop talking there and let Wade and or Tipton sort of talk a little bit about the site design.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Lyle, if you'll scroll up to maybe just even the cover sheet, or you can stay with this one here. So back to Justin's point, obviously the hardship with this piece of property, which is really only 17,000 square feet for the entire property, is simply that, just the narrow configuration. In the front, to Justin's point, and keeping the existing screen porch, we have realigned that front walkway. Currently, the drive in the front yard is over the allowable, and we have actually reconfigured it in such a way that it is representing a reduction to the existing conditions, but still over the allowable there in the front, and the driveway as a whole is over the allowable given the location of the new garage, pulling down the driveway and sort of having to do a 3-point turn in a small Mini Cooper or 5-point turn in just about any other vehicle to get in and out of the garage as it's proposed. The driveway itself is currently about 3 feet off the existing property line. And at the closest point, we were actually proposing to go just a little bit closer than that, kind of right at that apex of that radius as you turn into the garage there. We have spoken, that's exactly right. Thank you, Lyle. We have spoken with both the neighbors to the left, the Paynes, and the neighbors to the right, the Birds, both of whom are very excited that this existing house is going to remain, and excited to get to know the Cowens as neighbors and are on board with the requests. With that, I think it sort of covers the request and the reason for the variance, and I'll turn it over to the board for any other questions, and certainly appreciate the consideration.
I was going to add maybe 2 more things, Wade, just real quick.
Sure.
On the one thing to mention at the sort of top of this page, currently existing the driveway, there is driveway from the neighboring property that actually accesses onto this property. The Cowens have already discussed with that neighbor about eliminating that, because that was a sort of access easement thing that was predates obviously the Cowens purchase here. So that will go away, and we're continuing the landscape screen and stuff on that side of the property. And also on that side of the property, the portion of the house that extends beyond that side setback is all kept to 1 story, because the existing portion of the house that little bump out that you kind of see there in the center of the screen is a 1-story addition. So we kept everything on that side 1 story in line with the roof height, the roof line of that portion of the house. So we weren't exceeding, getting any taller in that area that we are sort of encroaching on that side.
This is Gloria.
Okay.
Just from for the record, was it the lot has been there since 1950, before 1950, as this shape?
Yeah, 1920, I think the house was built.
1920. It's actually 100 years old this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is the following the bottom dashed line through the service court? What is that structure with doors swinging out?
One is a door, just a man door, a person door into the garage. Oh, sorry, that part right there.
Yes, right there.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
No, that's a garbage enclosure that would be.
Oh, how
we can
cute.
speak to that, but
Okay.
would be integrated with a shrub row. So it kind of goes away.
Well, it's darling.
And this is Gloria. The service court turnaround meets the 25-foot.
It does. It's roughly, yes, it does meet the 25-foot minimum. I want to say it's 28, almost closer to 30 feet, just for a little bit more space to turn around.
Okay, any more questions of the applicant, board members? Then I would ask if there's anybody else in attendance who would like to speak to this application.
This is Matt Cowan. I'm my wife Seal and I are the owners. We're here, and we just appreciate the consideration. We're doing all we can to save this lovely old house for posterity and for us to live in. But we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'm sorry, was there anybody else? Okay, with that, I'll close off the public portion of the meeting. And board members, any comments? Any motions?
Did we hear Lyle weigh in yet?
Staff approves.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve as submitted. I grew up across the street from this house, and this is just so heartwarming that this property is being saved. This is incredible what you guys have done with it, and I am really excited to make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Gloria.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Haley,
Aye.
Gloria,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and Pete, aye. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, Lyle, whenever you're ready.
All right. Third item under the new business is the application of Kevin Sharp, 4430 Shepherd Place, for a conditional use permitting the construction of a swimming pool and a special exception for a fence. Building permit has been denied for the following reason. Swimming pool requires BZA approval. Fence is in other than permitted location. Staff recommends approval for the pool. Staff does not recommend approval for the fence.
Okay, thank you. Who is going to present this application?
This is,
Here's the,
sorry
go
guys,
ahead.
I figure out how to unmute myself. I wasn't sure who was in control of that. So I'm Ann Day from Day Rick Landscape Architects. I'm the landscape architect representing Kara and Kevin Sharp at 4430 Shepherd Place. Lyle, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and scrolling down to the Z 4.0, the master plan. That'd be great. I always feel like the colored version is the best representative drawing. So basically we are asking to build a pool within the building envelope and requesting a special exception to build a 6-foot high fence off the front corner of the eastern portion of the house, on the upper plan north of the page, front corner of the house. Just before we get started, I'd like to mention that this is the Sharps Forever home. The cottage style home was built in the 1920s, and they are in the process of restoring it back to its original character. They've made many improvements to it already, both structural and aesthetic. And after almost 2 years, they are mostly finished with the restoration, and they are ready to focus on the landscape portion of this house. Just to zoom out a little bit, because we are proposing, this is basically an overhaul of the entire site, not on the agenda, but just so you know, we're proposing to add this horseshoe drive in the front. And so that way it improves the circulation and the functionality of their driveway, and people will hopefully be able to access their front door instead of coming into the side entrance. So that's part of this landscape plan that we're going to be doing. In the rear, we are proposing a pool that's well within the setbacks. The pool is modestly sized at 16 by 32, which I fits the scale of the lot nicely. Our clients actually requested to have less hardscape around the pool and more green to kind of keep it with a garden feel. And also we're kind of responding to the cottage style of the house with a kind of a cottage style type landscape. Our biggest request is regarding the pool enclosure fence. So first I'd like to note where it is coming off the western portion of the house. Well, I guess the one in question on the west side of the house at the back corner, we are coming off the back corner over near the driveway, and we're dying into the carriage house, and then we're coming off the back corner of the carriage house. So that area, we're okay. But we wanted to acknowledge that the preferred place for the fence on the eastern side is off this back corner of the rear of the house. Lyle, can you show them where that corner, where it would be preferred?
Talking about here on the front?
the back, where it would be preferred, on the back corner of the house. No, not that one, but actually, we were considering that other, yeah, that corner, I would think would be where you all would prefer it based on being the back corner of the house. We want to be deferential in our request, but we thought it might be worth the ask. Our reasons are, if you look closely at the plan, you can see that all the ingress and egress points are on the side of the house. There's 3 doors on this eastern side of the house, and there are no doors on the back of the house. So if we were to put a fence where we were just proposing, where it would be preferred, the Sharps would have to go through a gate to get to the pool. I'd like to note that the Sharps have 3 young children, and safety is their biggest concern. Placing a fence off the back corner could potentially create a barrier between them and their children if they need to rush out due to an emergency. Also, the fence could obstruct their view from their kitchen window, which is right there where that kind of bay window knocks out. Right there. That's their kitchen window right there. It would obstruct their view, which is their main line of sight to the backyard. Also, to note, the terraces off the side of the house on the eastern side were all there when they purchased the home, and placing a fence off either rear corner would break up the flow of these spaces and disrupt the connection to the pool. We have concluded that the most functional location for the fence is off the front corner of the house. It allows for optimum safety, and it allows the pool to be accessible from all 3 doors and gathering spaces. Also, Lyle, would you mind flipping to the elevation that we drew of the fence?
You know what sheet that is?
That's it.
Okay.
So I'd like to note that we are proposing a fence that is an extension of the house. The house is currently clapboard, and we would be extending that clapboard on out as part of this 6-foot-high enclosure fence. And we would be incorporating a garden gate as part of that fence. We feel like it's in keeping with the character of the house and the neighborhood. Also, I guess while I'm showing this, can you scroll up just a little bit so we can see those bottom pictures? Yeah, right there. I also would like to note that the landscape is currently already there, and it's heavily landscaped already, and there's some large boxwoods off to the right side of the house. So anything that we put there is going to be obscured anyway. So we feel like it would be, pretty much just connecting over to the fence, but it's going to feel like landscape. This already feels pretty heavily obscured already by the landscape. And I also wanted to note, I took an hour one day and just drove through the neighborhood to try to find precedent images of other houses that had fences off the front corner. And Lyle, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down, I believe to our last page. So the house, this was me taking pictures out of my window of my car. So some of them are kind of hard to see, but the one I really want to point out is the house right across the street that has a similar character to their house, to the far right. Yes, that one right there. It's very similar in character to the house of the Sharps across the street, and it has a white stucco wall coming off the side, and it's kind of an extension of the house. Is it similar to what we're proposing? So I feel like by proposing what we're doing, it's kind of in keeping with some of the surrounding homes in the neighborhood. And also I did find 5 other examples just in the vicinity, but this one's the best example because it's directly across the street. Also, I'd like to note that Dr. and Mrs. Warner, who live to the east of the Sharp, so if you're facing the house, it's the house to the right. They have given their blessing and they are in favor of the design. And also the Sharps have been in contact with the neighbors on the block and have not received any objections to the plans.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Board members, questions?
I've got one. Is the home across, this is Haley, sorry. Is the home across the street with the wall coming off the front, is that in order to enclose a swimming pool? Or is it just?
I actually I do not know because I have not seen the back, but it seems to be about 6 feet tall. So
This is Kevin Sharp. I don't believe they have a pool back there. It is a tall wall more than a fence, and it's on both sides. Dan's picture shows it on the right side as you're looking at it, but that wall is on both sides. But it's not enclosing a pool.
Understood. Lyle, is the coming off the rear corner of the house is specific to the enclosure of a swimming pool, correct?
It is. Okay. You could actually come off of this corner here.
Mm-hmm.
Consider that a rear since it's tucked in so far behind this one, or that one.
Okay.
Tucked in. Yeah.
Thanks.
Ann, you spoke of three exits out of that house for the swimming pool. Maybe Lyle, could you circle those 3 exits?
Wait a minute. Let me zoom out. All right, now Pete, what did you want?
Ann said there were 3 exit points that if they put the wall in the front, they could lead out to the swimming pool. I'm wondering where those are.
Well, we've got one here, correct, Ann?
yes.
One here.
And those are the 2 main access points.
And the other one, would it be here or is it up here?
No, it's north, plan north. It's right. See where the walkway leads into it's right there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when you say, Ann, that those are the 2 main ones, the third one that Lyle circled, what does that lead to? Why isn't that a main one?
That one, you have to go all the way around to the great room, is the way that the house is laid out, to get out that door. The one that they're going to be using the most to access the rear is the kitchen door, which is that middle door that Lyle circled, the smallest,
Okay.
the one that's only a single door.
Right, okay.
This is Gloria. So there, I mean, it sounds like they just did a major renovation. I mean, this is a sidetrack for sure, but it's a question. They just did a major renovation and they didn't put any doors on the back of their house for access.
They were trying to stay in keeping, they restored it back to its original, character. So that's where the doors were already. So that's why they, due to the layout of the house, that's how they kept it that way.
Right. This, Kevin, can I also help answer that question? Those 2 doors that you see there, so it's windows in the back, but the 2 doors that you see are in the same room. And so it didn't, as we were looking at it, didn't make sense to add yet a third set of doors leading to the outside from the same room.
I guess my question is it has nothing to do with this really, but and it's certainly not trying to get involved in design, but you would think from a safety standpoint you would have doors on the back of your house.
Well, we have the 2 doors that are there. It wasn't renovated with the idea of putting a pool back there. So we didn't think about it in that way, but those 2 doors go from the back room. There's just not a back door. They're all side doors. It's just the way the house was laid out when we bought it, and that's windows in the very back. So it would have been, I think from a design standpoint, it would have seemed very odd to add yet a third set of doors in that room, taking out one of the windows. I guess, I don't know, maybe two of the windows to get another set of doors in the same room.
Okay, I have another question. The fence on the other side of the house, could you draw that from the side property line to the house where you enclose it? I didn't see that. You know what I'm talking about, Lyle? The fence on the other side, how does it enclose the pool? I know where it comes off the fence to the corner of the garage, but what happens then?
Let me zoom in a little bit. It's a little hard to tell with all the colors. Oops. So, Ann, the fence where it touches the garage, is it here?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a gate. So, well, no, it's coming off the corner of the house, the back corner.
Straight
there.
over?
It comes straight across. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Board members, any other questions? All right. Is there anybody else in attendance who would like to speak to this application?
Yes, sir. My wife and I are here, the homeowners. This is probably out of order, but I do have to say, we walk by the Cowan house all the time. That's a great piece of property. I'm glad somebody's getting in there and doing that. With respect to ours, part of what happened, and the pool was not thought of in the original design, is that we didn't add a door in the back. We kept the existing doors that were on the sides. And so part of our concern became, once we decided, we'd like to have a pool for the family and the kids, that how can we still see from the kitchen, where you spend most of our time downstairs, from the kitchen, how can we still see the pool and have access to the backyard and to the side? If we came off the back, the very back, then we would be cut off, and there would actually be no access to the backyard from the house without going through the fence or a gate. And that would then cause this obstruction if we needed to get out there, and for convenience and safety. We couldn't go directly to the backyard. We'd end up having to go through a fence. And so that was the primary concern on why we wanted to see if we could move this up, allow us smooth access to the back, so that we're not cut off. There's no obstruction to get to kids if we needed to, rather than having the entire backyard, not just the pool, cut off from us on the inside. And so that's what we wanted to do. It seems to keep in line with the style of the house. I think it was important that Dr. Warner and Peggy Warner contacted us to say, look, we've seen it. We like what you're doing. We can't be there, but you're authorized to tell them that we approve this. And we did let the other neighbors know. They've known for a while what we were thinking about doing and planning on doing, but then specifically let them know, not just the sign, that there was the hearing, and if anybody wanted to talk to us about it or see the plans, they should contact us. And we didn't hear from them. Everybody that we've talked to, lots of people walk by this house and go, well, we love what you're doing. That rarely happens, that someone walks by for out and doesn't speak about how nice the house looks. And so that's the main reason for why we want to move this fence up to the front corner instead of the very back corner. It also, if you move the fence back, it ends up cutting, if you take it from the midpoint, I guess, not all the way back, but the midpoint, that somebody drew a line earlier. I think Lyle drew a line there earlier. You now have it obstructs a view heading back from the side. And if you move it all the way back, then you've cut off the area where most of the outdoor gathering would be, that's not around the pool, and you've still got to go back through another fence and a gate. And so that's why we thought this this variance made sense and was the safest thing to do. And so we appreciate y'all. I know we're last on the agenda. Hate to be there, but I do appreciate everyone taking our request and thinking about this seriously.
Okay, thank you.
Pete, this is Haley. Can I ask a question of the applicant
Sure.
or the architect? Anyone is fine. I personally feel like it's very unusual for someone to come to us with a pool without having to somehow modify like egress points from their home to gain access to a swimming pool. And I'm wondering, I'm just looking at the single window in the kitchen, and it seems to me, I understand just having finished a renovation, not wanting to, disrupt things too much, but it seems to me that if that window were changed to a door, you could have both access and have your fence be in line with the ordinance, and that's it's kind of a minimal disruption as far as construction of a swimming pool. I just wondered if that was an option that you all ever considered.
It is not, because where that line was drawn, I didn't even think was an option. Because it didn't come off the back corner or even that corner. If I understand you, you're saying you could move the fence up to the other side of the window?
Lyle, can you help me point this out?
Yeah, I just drew on here. It's a better option than coming off the front corner.
Right. It's not the rear, it's just better than the front.
Yeah, let me scroll down just.
But it's not off the corner. It's not off a corner, is it?
Would that
well, here's what I would consider a back corner.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be back here necessarily, okay?
But the window's before that.
That's right. The window's right here. So we're talking about, instead of coming off here, come off here, I don't know, what is it, 4 feet? That gives you all of this green area here. I'm channeling my Carol Nelson here. So that would be an option, I assume.
They're running out of data because you
gives me,
on here.
it doesn't obstruct the view from the window. Are you suggesting that we put a door there? Sorry, maybe I missed the.
I mean, I cannot suggest that you do anything. I wondered if you had considered that as an option, because I understand trying to keep everything the way it is and also get the fence and pool the way you want it. I just think, when you have to deal within these ordinances, it would make sense to consider adding, another door potentially. I mean, it was just a question of if it had been considered, or if any additional doors or windows being changed to doors had been considered at any point.
You know what? My wife just reminded me that although this was before we were considering a pool, we did consider putting a door there, not related to any of this, instead of a window. But we have the bump out that's right to the left of it as you're looking, which is a little breakfast table area. And you then eat up the cabinet space. And just now we're back to kind of kitchen design. It ate up too much of what we needed for the kitchen to add a door there. But at the time, and we have the door just on the other side of the range, at the time there wasn't a thought about the pool. If you tried to add it now, just having finished the kitchen renovation, I don't know how practical that is, of coming in and destroying the cabinets and the countertop that's there. I don't know that that's now that we're on the backside, it would have been an option maybe as we were renovating the house, but I don't think it is now.
Kevin, are you talking about this little area here I'm drawing in blue? Is that where the cabinet and a countertop is?
No, it runs the length. It starts there where you've got blue, but it runs the length all the way to the other door.
Oh, you're talking about this way?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a gas oven in there, cabinets that go up to the ceiling, and a marble countertop with a marble backsplash.
So
not,
it
not
is
that anybody has
between,
man-
what is between the cabinet here and this wall? Anything?
Yes, the countertop and the cabinets extend.
Okay.
I think there must be
There's
lower countertops, lower cabinets underneath that.
There's lower cabinets under that, and then right on the side of that window, they pick up and go to the ceiling. It's a solid slab of marble.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any other questions of the applicant? Anybody else like to speak to this application? If not, I'll close off the public portion of the meeting and board members. And I'll go ahead and jump in here first. It's, we listened for compelling reasons on why we should approve an application. And I heard several compelling reasons. But probably more importantly is there's a lot of precedent, not only in that neighborhood, but all over Belle Meade, where walls have been extended or fences have been extended from the front to the side property line to when it makes sense to secure a pool. And when you start talking about safety issues, and it becomes a big concern. So it's not something that it'd be unique to allow a wall to the front, off the front corner. So I wanted to get those comments out there. Other comments, board members?
Pete or Doug, somebody tell me or remind me what's the standard here? What are we weighing this against? The variance standard or the conditional use standard?
The special exception allowing.
Special exception is is more liberal in some ways than a variance, and you don't have to show a special condition of the lot that causes a hardship. So it's mostly has to do with compatibility with the neighborhood, harmony with the surrounding properties, and whether or not it's it has to do with design, protection of the public health, safety, and welfare. So pretty general standards, Chris. And I think Mr. Zabaski I think he has stated pretty well why that was. I think his suggestion, although it's not a motion, I think he's talking public safety, that it's compatible with others in the neighborhood. What I'm hearing. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I agree, Pete. I think the burden has been met, especially with that description that Doug just gave us of the considerations.
Board members, do I have any other questions or a motion?
I'll move to approve it. This is Chris.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. It's Haley, sorry.
All in favor? I will do a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Haley?
Aye.
Gloria?
Aye.
Pete? Aye. Well, thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Concludes that. You're welcome, ma'am. Let's board members, let's go over talk about the minutes real quick. We have minutes for the July meeting. Has everybody read those minutes, or has anybody read them? I'd like to make a motion.
I read them and I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second, this is Chris.
All in favor? Aye. Haley?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Gloria?
I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
Aye. I'll vote aye. And now the August minutes. I would like to just note that one correction needs to be made to them, and rather than take the time, it's just where where Edie typed 38,000 square foot home, and I suspect she meant a 3,800 square foot home. So I'll ask Edie just to make that correction. I can't even remember which application it was, but if she'd like me to find it, I'll be glad to do that. So with that correction, do I have a motion for the August meetings minutes?
This is Haley. I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second?
With that correction.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second this, Chris.
Okay, roll call vote. Haley,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Gloria?
Wait, what did we vote on August before?
Yes. No, not
Okay.
on August, we haven't. You want to vote
Okay.
now?
I guess I shouldn't have abstained the first one because I was there, but I'll abstain on August.
Okay, and I'll vote aye, so minutes are approved. Okay, do I have if there's any other discussion, have it now. If not, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Gloria.
Second, Haley.
All in favor? Just say aye.
Aye.
Aye, Chris. Aye, Gloria.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you all.
And meeting adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you. See y'all.